So how many islands do I need to murder to do that? Oh boy. This is tank. Is it? For fuck's sake, I hate it. Tentacle time again. No, maybe not. Hair of Andra. Columns of water rise up from the pool in front of you. Shifting, rising, whipping air around them in a vortex. Lore 2. This can only be Andra's hair, appearing before you at a fraction the size typically reported by mariners, unfortunate enough to encounter them on the high seas.
You have done well to have come so far. I confess I was not certain you would make it.
Let me reiterate one of my most beloved points I have always liked to make. Let's mean that you're all gods. Your foresight is really fucking weak, isn't it?
But I do not wish to give false hope. The greater challenge remains in front of you.
Well, I didn't really expect it to be easy.
Running through the core of this rock is a large growth of crystal. You will know it when you see it.
Good.
A blow to the crystal would reverberate through the walls of this place.
Good.
Strike it enough and the entire structure would crumble. The eyeless would be buried.
Okay. That sounds good, actually.
Of course, it would take a person years to cause enough damage.
Now can be smartest, but not with the help of the eyeless.
Then you know what must be done.
Now I need to use my hammer.
Strike the crystal with Obidon's hammer. The eyeless will wake and come to its call. Join in striking the crystal.
Nice.
They will cluster together and bury themselves.
Yeah, but that would also bury the person. Oh shit. That's the whole point, isn't it? Yeah.
I have realized it is best that they should be ended. For within each of them is a small piece of Obidon himself.
For fuck's sake.
Upon their deaths, those
You are
fragments of the
such
memories they
a
contain
bitch of a
will be
fucking
safely
goddess.
dispersed.
Oh, for fuck's sake, you're gonna bury me with them.
I had not considered the dangers of allowing them to persist, until a watcher appeared at my abbey.
Correction. Slaughtered everything in your abbey. What aren't you telling me?
A single strike upon the crystal will not be enough. The eyeless respond only as long as the hammer rings. You will
Yes.
need to remain until their work is complete, wielding the hammer until the walls come crumbling down.
Would have finished it sooner. You mean for me to die here?
Your sacrifice will be mourned, but your fate is already sealed.
You really don't know me well, do you?
The eyeless cannot be reasoned with or fled from. One day not far from now, they would kill you and level the Deerwood.
Well, well, well. Will you look at it? Wasn't I the one who told you that? Who convinced you that it was the case? Because you have been the bitch goddess who has actually let them run fucking freely. Ah, I hate it. This is the sort of thing that it's like in the job, you know, when you have to clean after some mistake your superior makes. This is basically this newer, it's just worse, basically. It's really just worse.
You have seen what they will do.
It's like, yes, I'm
This
not even
is the
going to
way
pay you
you
for this.
stop
I'm just going to expect you to sacrifice your fucking life.
And the truth is that you are marked by the eyeless for a reason.
I swear
It would
to...
be better for all.
No, I'm not going to
things
swear to the
you have
gods.
seen were
I swear to
forgotten.
whatever else there is. I will find a way to rip out the fucking hair of that bitch.
Ain't that convenient?
Yeah, just say.
Crushing's a bad way to go. Maybe we should just hang ourselves.
Sounds a lot more peaceful, doesn't it? The water columns drop all at once back into the pool, sending up a small splash. Pool settles, and looking down into it, you see only the faces of you and your companions, alone and condemned. Oh, for fuck's sake. And you wonder why people hate the gods so much. That is the sort of bullshit that leads to people really hating on the gods. Going like, you know what? Fuck you. Who got kicked? No one important. Good. Pellet then. But seriously, this is the fucking reason why the gods are hated. The reason why nobody likes them. Why everybody considers them outright assholes, actually. I mean, you don't really have to, you know, ask many questions as to the precise how, why, or anything else, because, well, they have kind of proven that point. You have really proven my point. Nothing's actually intended for it to be so, but you know, they did. Thank you very much, gods. Gods above. You have proven that you are all assholes. You do not have our best interests at heart, do you now? You should actually be paralyzed, my friend. It is. Gonna be a bit of an overkill then. You just don't really want to take, you know, unnecessary risk when it comes to them. And all of these are basically abilities I can, you know, recharge. Just by ending the combat, so it's always good to win with those. I kinda like the system, how they're basically abilities you're so used to using that you can actually just use them pretty much without repercussions. This too is not the sort of situation that you really wanna be in, mind you. I don't know. Could be, could not be. Fucking paralyzing. Those effects are really cancer. I should know. I used them myself. And believe me, I do know. Run, Tentacle, run! Now, there is the main beast, the Kraken, apparently, a primordial. I mean, yes, it kinda is a Kraken, but still, you're stealing my tricks. That is not something I find agreeable. Get positioned and run. Look at him run. Honestly, if you see something like this, I would not be running in that direction. I would be running in every bloody direction that is not there. I will be that honest, at least. I wouldn't have the heart to do this, honestly. I mean, quite literally, you know. I would not have it in me. Luckily enough, my little PCs don't have a choice. Mostly for the simple fact that, you know, they're getting controlled by me. They're going to regret every decision they have ever made that has led to this point. Mostly because I'm probably fearing to get tentacle raped, but, you know, that's a very understandable fear. At least in this case. This has gone a lot better than I had actually anticipated. And I do mean that. A lot better, actually. Where's the crystal? That's the crystal I need to strike. I can already see as much. Okay. That was actually a pretty nice boss fight. I had a bit of the surprise element through the tentacles who can move freely through the room. I don't know if they intended for the Kraken to be stationary. Because if that thing would have gotten involved in this combat, things would have gotten a lot nastier, to put it very mildly. Okay then, let us save, let's start striking. It's also something I always like. People are like, what was it? Reducing the difficulty. That's like cheating, isn't it? And I was like, what is saving then? You do realize that if you want to play a game like real life, there's no save function in real life. You are cheating by saving and reloading if you doesn't like the outcome, you know? And dying in a fight is the one outcome you don't like. So yeah, I almost liked it. It's a nice point I had. few of my longest debates actually with the deck about this particular thing. I wasted quite a few nights debating the finer details of this, and there really isn't any good way to find a answer, so to speak. What are you doing, game? An enormous crystal juts from the wall like a spearhead protruding from a wound. An army of reflection stares back at you from the crystal's perfect facades. It echoes the sound of your footsteps and soft, ringing hums. Someone will have to take up Abaddon's hammer and strike the crystal. I honor warned that whoever does so will be buried in this place with the eyeless. Whom do you choose? I could summon okay, that would be mean thing. Just summon Rengar's August and be like, here, strike that thing and get buried. Okay, let me think about this. You get buried here. That's bad because, no. Actually, I will try to use, apply the same logic I did before. The Devil of Karuk is probably the only one who has a body that can survive getting buried under the lake. Because as far as I'm aware, she doesn't need to grieve and she's so wrong. So you can sink to the ground with everything and then just walk out. I hope. I will try it actually. I wonder if the game actually has a plan for that, or if it's like you choose anyone apart from yourself that will die. I don't remember this puppet, because I think last time I actually chose myself, or I actually summoned the ogres or something. I don't remember how this is going to happen, so let's find out, shall we not? My trying to think smart and outside the box is actually going to work for once. All is silent as you approach Devil of Karuk.
And I used to say I never got picked for anything.
See? I'm just making fair. Devil of Karuk hefts the hammer, swings it at the crystal. A perfect, clear tone rings through the air. It resonates through your teeth. Seconds later, ripples river through the water. Something big is coming. Devil of Karuk lifts the hammer again and gives you a final nod. You scramble out of the flooded cavern, flee through the tunnels. Devil of Karuk continues hammering at the crystal, each strike magnifying the last. The echoes build into a physical tremor. Meanwhile, heavier rhythm pulses through the cave. Footsteps, dozens of them. You round a corner on which you see a line of eyeless advancing. Creatures stagger to the rhythm of the hammer thuds below. It's a crane their necks toward you, ratcheting back their piston arms. Repulsing Seal. Cast Repulsing Seal. Durance. Glowing seal blooms from the ground. The first two eyeless step onto it and fall backwards, taking most of the others with them. Dodge past the eyeless. You sprint past the distracted monsters. Fortunately, the creatures are too focused on the hammering to give chase. They continue toward the cavern. Devil of Karuk maintains a steady tempo on the crystal. Eyeless gather in the cavern, where they batter the walls at time of the hammer's rhythmic blows. The ground shakes. Falling rocks and shattering crystals splash to the ground. You flee through dark, rumbling corridors. More spellbound eyeless shamble along. They're too entranced by the swelling cadence to take more than an idle swipe at you. The tunnel narrows. Light filters through ahead. The exit must be round the next bend. But it's clogged with rubble. Meanwhile, the ground drops several feet at once. The tunnel begins rolling on its axis. The distant sound of rushing water echoes from the cavern. Windstone. Cast Windstone. Who will cast it? Iravias. Cast it. Iravias conjures two boulders. Hurls them into the blockage. They hit with a crash. The rubble rolls down the tunnel. Open sky shines through the gap. The moon shudders again. You escape onto the ice, just as another thunderous crash sounds from below. Eyeless continue pouring into the cavern from every visible tunnel and crevice. Devil of Karuk's ears ring at the ever-growing cacophony, smashing rock, shattering crystal. Meanwhile, the water level is rising. A skull-splitting crack rends the air. A surge of water knocks Devil of Karuk from her feet. The entire cavern rotates, plunging Devil of Karuk into a freezing soup of jagged metal, torn flesh, and stone. You dash across the lake. The ice squeals and crackles, poking dangerously underfoot. The sinking moon groans. Long fissures race across the ice. Cast Calacath's freezing rake to hold the ice together. And of course, that's gonna be cast by Aluf, or Little Mage. A spectral hand sweeps the ice in front of Aluf. The ice sheets knit back together, holding just long enough for a safe crossing. At last, you reach the safety of the shore, the middle of the lake. Only the tip of the moon is visible above the ice. You watch in silence as it sinks into the depths. The Devil of Kaluk trudges along the lake bottom. I fucking knew it! He feels neither the cold nor the lack of air. In fact, if it weren't for the murk, it would almost be a pleasant stroll. As it is, the water makes her movements infuriatingly slow, and by the time the boss Speckleback comes to nip at her shining fingers, she's ready to murder someone. She crawls out of the lake, cursing and shaking the water out of her joints. I really love it. Like, what a pleasant stroll. Look, if you are thinking eyeless to my left, if you're thinking eyeless to my right, oh yeah, there's a little fish coming to nibble at my fingers, but apart from that, I'm all fine and dandy. You probably should dry off because, you know, you're made. Actually, does Bronx actually rust that easily? I would have to look this up. I have very little dealings with Bronx. So there's that. But now she can officially claim that she's a fucking over-fucking hero, isn't she? Really is. I mean, she just saved everyone. Quite literally. I'm pretty sure we can forgive some murders on her part. You stand at the edge of the lake. The bobbing of the ice, the rippling of the water's surface, slows until you are looking at a moment frozen in time. The bird begins moving once more, moves in reverse. The surface of the water churns and roils like it's about to spew something up. And it does. A fragment of Yoni Brasa rises, unbroken. Ice reforms across the surface of the lake, spreading in long, freezing fingers. Eyeless file out of the moon fragment and onto the ice. They wind around the moon in an ever-widening spiral. They stop as the head of the line reaches you. They speak in a single voice that resonates with grinding metal and hissing steam.
We shatter and sink, discarded like worn tools. Why have you consigned us to oblivion?
Well, to be fair, you are. Worn-out tools, broken and useless. But that's a very unfair point, because they haven't really made a choice here. They just did what they were made to do. It could be like Iosius. No, but let's make an actual point here. You would have destroyed Katnua, Dragon's Battery, and more. The protest is as sharp, squealing metal.
Blasphemy! These are jewels of civilization. They are sacred. We would sooner sacrifice our own bodies than dislodge a single stone from such a place. Why do you torment us with baseless accusations?
Well, to be very much... Oh, this is my chance to get a bit of revenge. Undra changed you from a preserver to a destroyer. The eyeless are still, but you hear their gears veer as their collective spirit powders this.
Then we were betrayed.
Yes. You were transformed against your will.
And we were made to betray something we cherish.
Yes. You feel their bitter agony like a hammer strike, which is pretty understandable. It's like, well, we had a job, it was protective, and the legacy of the Gwithians, Yumi.
The bedrock of civilization.
Suddenly, they attack the ice beneath them, slicing and shattering it with mighty swings from their iron arms. And where the ice breaks, ancient towers rise, blotting out the blue sky and white peaks. Undra wanted Engwithian civilization forgotten.
Better for her tides to ebb and her seas to dry up than to cover a single stone the Engwithians laid.
The ice shakes with the fury of the eyeless.
Each culture builds on the bones of the last. Yet many only look up at where they would go, never down at the foundations that bear them.
That's a bit of a problem for humanity, yeah. We quite literally build towers high enough that you know, can't even see the foundation anymore. And we don't consider much the foundation that we have built upon.
Like a mason who builds a listing tower.
Are we talking about the Tower of Pisa? The remaining ice sheets, cracks and groans.
What peril do they inflict on their progeny? And what dishonor on their forebears?
You hear the strain of crumbling stone in the voice of the eyeless. Betrayal of memory upsets you greatly.
It is accepting a gift only to spit in the face of the giver.
Pretty much, yeah.
Every advance in the crafts and institutions of Kith was forged by skill and sacrifice.
You feel these words, the anger behind them, in your bones. I mean, yeah, it's kinda... We have advanced quite far through our own skill and our sacrifices along the way. For example, the peace and quiet that we, as humanity, experience right now, for the most part of the world, well, the most western part of the world, is actually won by, you know, fighting, I don't know, like 2 fucking world wars for it. That's a lot of war and sacrifice, just to get some peace and quiet.
A people cut off from their history will wither, and they deserve no less.
I'm actually, I agree, yes. With forgetting your own history, you will actually lose sight of where you came from, and that will inherently change the way you look at where you're going. So, what do you suggest?
To pull the blinders from the eyes of gods and Kith.
I like where you're going, especially with Fax of Wanderer.
That is why we must return to ourself and restore Abidan.
What do you mean about returning to yourself?
When Ione Brotha fell, Abidan lost much.
I remember,
His
yeah.
will to preserve the memory of how and why he died.
Yeah, he did.
But he built us with fragments of his own soul. In returning, we can restore what was taken from him.
Perhaps Adin was meant to forget his past. Some knowledge is too dangerous for this world. Something grinds and rumbles from the chests of the islands. It's laughter.
A facile argument. One that defends stasis, not progress.
Well, Ondra said Abidan's memory would threaten the peace between the gods.
Just as fire clears dead wood from a forest, struggle makes way for new developments.
Flame rolls across the ice. As it dies away, clumps of ice melt. The towers rise high.
Conflict is part of progress. Peace and ignorance is not worth keeping.
This is a hard decision. I don't agree that Kith shouldn't have the White Forge. Honestly, they should. It's a very mighty tool, but I mean, I kind of like to make use of it, and I'm egoistical enough to assume that whatever comes after me can't be much worse. Animancy, Alos, you were part of the Linky Junior, that's why some secrets need to be kept.
And we have listened.
You speak as if history were a guide, yet it doesn't always provide a good example.
Then do not look to it for one.
You make a... It's such a simple point, but it's a fucking good point. It's like, what was it? For fuck's sake. Right, it like, somebody bothered me on the internet. It lasted until I turned my computer off. Yes, the solution was always simple, wasn't it? Sometimes it is.
History is not a moral force, but a set of facts.
Yeah, only if it actually is
These
facts.
facts show Kith where they have come from, and how to move forward.
I'm somewhat in agreement there. The Pagrunan were obsessed with the past. They died in the keeps they built to honor it.
And their brethren have built a culture that stretches across Aora. All because they recognize the importance of their shared legacy.
Yet the Pagrunan of Dragon's Battery might have built more if they surrendered this obsession with legacy and moved east. And before you killed them, they nearly destroyed themselves arguing over the meaning of the legacy, which is true.
Yet it drove them to create marvels. Could it have torn them apart with equal force?
You feel the eyeless wrestling with this question, drifting and struggling under its
Maybe
weight.
so. But we would not cast history aside over one such example.
Stalwart and the Iron Flail remained at odds even in the face of a bigger threat, not because of
The
the
problem
history.
is not that they remember too much of their history, but rather too little.
I mean, somewhat, yeah. The eyes and the foot become suddenly clear. Between your boots, you see an ocean separating Adir and the Eastern Reach.
Great Serens and Darewoodens alike began as pioneers from Adir. They all came seeking opportunity.
Boats, small as ants, crawl across the glassy blue.
Were they to look farther back, they would see their common origins and desires.
The ice dulls and thickens once more. But the experience of history is subjective, and that is precisely the problem with the whole facts thing. People remember what feels immediate and personal, just as you remember your own betrayal.
A painful truth.
They pause, recalling their suffering. You feel it radiate from them like heat.
We admit that history can become a hindrance. Even so, we must restore Abidan.
Very well. I'm honestly of the opinion that we should do it. The god should be returned to itself. Mostly, and honestly, I will tell you outright, not because I have any deep thoughts that would be conclusive here. You can make good arguments for both sides. There's only one fucking reason why I am feeling a lot like letting them do this. And that is just to spite Ondra. But literally, I hate that bitch. She has lied through omission to us, completely ignoring the fact that somebody could potentially die for, you know, the honor of stopping the ILS. She is the one who has, in the first, created a situation by taking something that is definitely not belonging to her, namely the ILS from Abaddon, taken from Abaddon his memory, which is a bitch move, altogether. Also the fact that she kind of was the one who called down the moon to destroy civilization, which also, you know, as part of the follow civilization is kind of, you know, like a bit of an argument. So yeah, screw this nonsense and screw Ondra in particular and be like, very well, return to yourself, be the god of preservation once more.
We shall see this world and its people restored.
I swear to God, if you come after me and be like, we need to restore the older civilization, not you, I will kick your ass into the next fucking century. A great wind shows at your back. Your ears pop when you feel for a moment as if all of the air is being sucked from the sky. Suddenly it ends, and you are standing in the snow, looking over Chiron's scar.
The Eyeless disappeared beneath the lake, their bond to Ondra finally severed. With this threat ended, hope returned to the White March. Hunters returned to the wildernesses, and travelers to the roads. Tales of the Watcher's bravery replaced stories of monsters in the woods. The villagers of Stalwart busied their hands with work and their tongues with song, eager to seize on the promise of peace.
Also, we managed to piss off Ondra.